centuries witnessed the final expulsion of the Crusaders from Palestine and successful resistance to the advance of the Mongols under the energetic rule of the Mamluks. Awesome in battle, the Mamelukes were no less energetic in their building programs and public works. The 4 minarets on the north and west boundaries of the noble sanctuary and the arched mawazin surrounding the Dome of the Rock are from the Mameluke period, as are endowments for 4 madrasas on the grounds of the sanctuary and a trust fund for maintaining Al-Aqsa and the Dome of the Rock. After a reign of nearly 300 years, Mameluke power declined. By the early 16th century, Ottoman Turks displaced them, in the process establishing a vast empire, which encompassed Constantinople, Damascus, Cairo, Mecca, Medina, and Jerusalem. On entering Jerusalem in 1517, the Ottoman Sultan Selim was entrusted with the keys to Al-Aqsa and the Dome of the Rock. A delegation of Christian clerics presented him with a scroll containing the original Covenant of Umar, guaranteeing them rights over the Church of the Holy Sepulchre and other Christian holy places. Selim pressed them to his face and kissed them, confirming his intention to honor Umar's word. Selim's son Suleiman al-Kanuni, known throughout Europe as Suleiman the Magnificent, consolidated his domain into the greatest world power of the 16th century. Drawing on his tremendous resources, he restored and renewed all of Jerusalem, building walls, gates, towers, battlements, and aqueducts. His most remembered gift to Jerusalem, however, was the breathtakingly beautiful tile work commissioned for the exterior of the Dome of the Rock. With the incomparable skills of Persia's master ceramicists, 40,000 tiles were fired and put into place, crowned by the inscription of Surat al-Yasin at the top. This brilliant application of exquisite aesthetics to celebrate the message of God has made the Dome of the Rock a world landmark in sacred architecture.
Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. Yasin.
In the name of God, the merciful, the compassionate, Yasin. By the wise Quran, surely you are among the messengers on a straight path. This was the peak of the Ottoman Empire. It soon began to deteriorate. Central authority broke down. Regionalism rose up. Corruption by petty officials became widespread. Military and political institutions and frontiers began to crumble. The Western powers, restrained by Ottoman strength for so many years, were joyously anticipating its collapse and the inevitable division of spoils. In 19th century Jerusalem, their dreams began to be realized. Consular offices representing the European powers were set up in the Old City to begin exerting influence from abroad, while a new political movement was being cultivated that could exercise power from within Palestine: secular Zionism. Denying the prophetic message while at the same time using it as the basis of their claims for a Jewish state in the Holy Land, crying anti-Semite at every protest of their despotic actions, even as they planned a ruthless displacement policy against the Semitic Arabs, the European Zionists created sufficient confusion to successfully deflect world criticism of their nationalist goals in the Middle East. From this apparently irreconcilable platform, the political Zionists waged a successful campaign to gain international sympathy and support for their bizarre concept of a secular and at the same time Jewish state in Palestine. Ottoman sovereignty was now seriously threatened, and with it, the believers' control of the sacred city of Al-Quds. When British forces entered Jerusalem after its surrender by the Ottomans in 1917, it was only a question of time until Zionist plans began to be realized. The Balfour Declaration of the same year gave support for the idea of a Jewish homeland in Palestine. The British Mandate of 1920 helped to enforce it. But what was originally conceived of as a more passive and politically acceptable ally in the Middle East turned out to be an unexpectedly impatient and violent one. Zionist-inspired terrorism and economic blackmail combined to force the British out in 1948. A hastily prepared UN recommendation for the creation of separate Arab and Jewish states within Palestine led immediately to an escalation of hostilities. Two Jewish terrorist groups, Irgun and the Stern Gang, led a campaign of terror and psychological warfare calculated to drive the Arabs out, culminating in their joint undertaking at the Arab village of Deir Yassin, in which 250 men, women, and children were brutally murdered, with threats of repeat performances broadcast throughout Palestine. On May 14th, in 1948, David Ben-Gurion proclaimed the State of Israel. Lack of unity among the Arab states in the ensuing Arab-Israeli war led to huge losses. By the time of the cessation of hostilities in 1949, more than 700,000 Arabs were driven out of their homes. Al-Aqsa Mosque and the Dome of the Rock had both sustained damage from the crossfire of mortars and bombs, but remained, together with the old walled city, in the hands of the Arabs. The first stage of their nationalistic plans realized, the Israelis cast a covetous eye on Gaza and the West Bank. But the real prize, East Jerusalem and its jewel, the noble sanctuary, lay tantalizingly just out of reach. The Israelis commenced on their plans for the capture of Al-Quds. Through the din of the capricious chance of Arab nationalism, Israel carefully plotted its attack. On June 7, 1967, the Israelis took Al-Quds. Israeli tanks and soldiers entered the noble sanctuary. The Maghribi quarter was leveled. 2 mosques and 135 homes were bulldozed, leaving 650 Muslims homeless. The West Bank and Gaza were occupied, demographically impossible situations, which would drive the Jews to desperation and despicable acts of oppression in years to come. Jerusalem was annexed. Only the Haram al-Sharif remained in the hands of the Muslims, by the grace of God, and the Jews' recognition of its significance to the Muslims, and their willingness to defend it at any cost. Then we gave you once again your turn to prevail over them, and we gave you wealth and children, and we made you more in soldiery, saying, if you do good, it is to your own souls you do good to, and if you do evil, it is to them also. So when the promise of the second came to pass, we roused against you others of our servants to ravage you, and to enter the temple, even as they entered it the first time, and to lay waste to all that which they conquered with an utter wasting. Perhaps the Lord will have mercy on you, but if you return, we shall return. And we have appointed hell a prison for the unbelievers.
ثم رددنا لكم الكرة عليهم وأمددناكم بأموال وبنين وجعلناكم أكثر نفيرا إن أحسنتم أحسنتم لأنفسكم وإن أسأتم فلها فإذا جاء وعد الآخرة ليسوءوا وجوهكم وليدخلوا المسجد كما دخلوه أول مرة وليتبروا ما علوا تتبيرا عسى ربكم أن يرحمكم وإن لبثتم عدنا وجعلنا جهنم للكافرين حصيرا.